Please stay online and bear with us a few more minutes. The official languages of this event is Korean and English. Please use the receiver placed on your seat for the interpretation services. Channel number 1 is for Korean and 2 is for English.
Ceremony. If you need a translation service, please wear receiver placed on the table. Channel 1 is Korean, channel 2 is English. 화상회의 시스템으로 접속하신 분들은
For those of you watching online, click on the interpretation button on the bottom of your screen for the interpretation services. And for those of you watching online, choose separate links provided for either Korean or English. For the sake of the event, please turn off your cell phones or put it on the vibration mode. Thank you.
네, 개막식이 시작될 예정이오니 모두 착석해 주시기
The opening ceremony will begin shortly.
ceremony. Thank you.
세계가 주목하는 친환경 미래 모빌리티. 우리는 글로벌 미래 산업으로 내일의 성공을 꿈꿉니다. 제8회 국제전기자동차엑스포.
바람과 태양, 너른 들판이 반기는 제주도 남단의 청정섬 가파도. 이곳에서 시작된 작은 움직임은 카본 프리 아일랜드라는 비전을 탄생시켰고 마침내 국제전기자동차엑스포라는 새로운 가능성이 되었습니다. 우리 앞에 다가온 글로벌 전기차 산업 생태계를 진단하고 탄소 중립과 에너지 전환 시대의 미래 비전을 공유하는 장. 전기자동차의 대중화와 글로벌 미래 산업 발전에 국제 전기자동차 엑스포가 함께하고 있습니다.
새로운 시작. EV 위라이드를 주제로 열린 첫 국제 전기자동차 엑스포에서는 일주일간 4만 7천여 명의 관람객이 참가하여 큰 주목을 받았습니다. 제2회에서는 친환경 교통수단으로 주제를 확장하여 전시, 컨퍼런스 등 탄탄한 구성으로 73개 업체와 8만여 관람객의 참가를 이끌어냈으며 제3회 엑스포에는 세계 41개국이 참가하는 글로벌 엑스포로 자리매김하였습니다. 제4회에는 세계 전기차 협의회의를 발족시킨 세계 주요국의 전기차 정책과 비전을 공유하였습니다. 제5회 엑스포에서는 B2B 비즈니스 미팅을 도입하여 국내외 기업들의 거래가 활발히 이루어졌으며 제6회에서는 아시아의 대표적 전기자동차 전시회로 성장하여 비즈니스 중심의 엑스포로 발전하였을 뿐 아니라 세계 석학과 전문가들이 참가하는 국제 전기자동차 포럼이 열려 세계 최고 수준의 이모빌리티 엑스포로 발전하였습니다. 2020년 코로나19 위기 상황에도 7번째 국제 전기자동차 엑스포는 방역 지침을 준수하면서 버추얼 전시와 온 오프라인 컨퍼런스 등 비대면 프로그램으로 안전, 청정, 글로벌 엑스포 시대를 열었습니다.
제8회 국제전기자동차엑스포에서는 미래자동차와 신재생 에너지 기술의 진보를 핵심 이슈로 선정하고 제주도를 가상공간으로 펼쳐지는 버추얼 전시회, 전기자동차를 비롯하여 이모빌리티와 배터리, 전기차 부품 및 소재 등 국내외 전기차 산업군 150여 개사가 참여하는 현장 전시회를 동시 개최합니다. 세계 32개국으로 구성된 세계전기차협의회 연례총회와 장관급 리더스 라운드 테이블과 글로벌 EV 라운드 테이블, 글로벌 벤처 생태계의 허브인 미국 실리콘밸리와 함께 개최하는 비즈니스 포럼, 전기차 국제 표준 포럼 등 40여 개의 글로벌 컨퍼런스가 온 오프라인으로 생중계됩니다. 이와 함께 엑스포 기간 동안 국내외 바이어와 셀러가 B2B 비즈니스 미팅에서 활발한 상담을 벌이게 되며 한라산 천백도로와 제주 명소를 달리는 전기차 퍼레이드, 전기차 시승 행사 등이 펼쳐집니다. 세계 최고 수준의 버추얼 전시회와 대면 상담이 가능한 현장 전시회로 여러분을 만족시킬 제8회 국제전기자동차 엑스포. 세계 석학 및 전문가와 온 오프라인에서 미래를 준비하십시오.
버추얼 공간과 현장에서 동시에 개최되는 제8회 국제전기자동차 엑스포에 여러분을 초대합니다.
네, 여러분.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the opening ceremony of the 8th International Electric Vehicle Expo. I'm today's Master of Ceremony, Im Jong-ryong. Now, Jeju is under a big spotlight as a platform of EV car industry and as a model for global carbon neutrality. It is my great honor to serve as your MC in the 8th IEVE, the one and only event in the world dedicated solely to electric cars. Unfortunately, this year as well, due to COVID-19, we are hosting this event in an unconventional ways for safety reasons. I would like to ask for your attention and support for the 4-day-long event. I wish things were different, but this unconventional way of hosting this event allows us to meet and interact with more beyond physical limitations. And here, I see a lot of people who are filling this room with joy and excitement. Thank you for taking part in this event. A place to have a glimpse at the major trends in the rapidly changing global EV industry and share visions for future cars. Welcome to the opening ceremony of the 8th International Electric Vehicle Expo once again. Let me introduce our VIPs gracing this event. Please welcome each and every one of them with a big hand.
Please either stand up or wave your hand if you're joined virtually so that we can all recognize you and welcome you. 먼저 국제전기자
We have Chairperson Kim Dae-hwan, the Chairperson of the Global EV Association Network. Chairman Kim Dae-hwan, Global EV Association Network. Thank you for coming. We have the leader of the People's Power Party. Thank you. Welcome to this event. We have a Sabam-su, Honorable National Assembly Member, who is on the way. Una, another Honorable National Assembly Member. Thank you for coming. German Ambassador to Korea, Mihail Leifenschüttel. We have a President of Hyundai Motors, UAM, Shin Jae-won. Thank you for coming. We have the co-chairperson of the organizing committee of NFI, the first Expo organizing committee, Mr. Moon Guk-hyun. Thank you. We have a chair chief at the Green Foundation. Thank you for joining us. We have a chairperson of a Black Yak, Mr. Kang Tae-sun. Choi Hong-gi, Unitary Ambassador. Thank you. for joining us. He's in the back of the corner. Jung Jae-hoon, President of the Korean Hydro and Nuclear Power Corporation. Thank you for coming. Welcome. Jung In-seo, Hanwha Energy CEO. Thank you for joining us. I believe that he is not here yet. We have Hwang Woo-yeon, the CEO of Jeju Energy Corporation. Yoon Jae-hyung, he's the president of the Korea Environment Institute. Kim Soo-jong, co-chairperson of Jeju Green Big Bang. Yang Moon-seo, the chairperson of Jeju Chamber of Economy and Commerce. Edmund Araga, the chairman of Asia Federation of IEVE Association. He's joining us online. Sorry that we do not have time to introduce all the other distinguished guests, and I'd like to express my special thank you for joining us today. First and foremost, we'd like to invite the co-chairperson of the International Internal Vehicle Expo so that he can deliver an opening speech. Would you please give him a warm round of applause?
일일이 다 호명하지 못한
Sorry, we could not name all of the VIPs who are gracing this event. And we have some participants who wanted to be here but cannot make it here in person, and 70 or 80 of them are actually connecting with us virtually. Please be generous. So let me deliver my opening remark for this 8th International Electric Vehicle Expo. Distinguished guests, good afternoon. Welcome to Jeju, the Mecca of electric vehicles. This green means of transportation, EV cars, have brought us together for the 8th time this year. I thank you all for joining us today. And also, despite their busy schedules, our keynote speakers, President Shin Jae-won from Hyundai Motors Group UAM Division and CEO Song Shin-gun from DPCO, have traveled all the way down to Jeju. Thank you very much. Due to overseas schedules, former Secretary General Ban Ki-moon could not make it here in person, unfortunately, but he has sent us his video lectures. I send my deepest gratitude. My thanks also go to Co-Chairman Moon Guk-hyun of the Expo Organizing Committee, Chief Director Chair at the Korea Green Foundation, Vice President Yakovo Shamash at the State University of New York, and Chairman Albert Lam at Detroit Electric for gracing this event. Starting from last year, the COVID-19 pandemic has spread all over the world. This is throwing existential concerns as to climate change and green recovery to us. Our lives, economy, and the entire social structure should be transformed to make it low carbon if we are to survive the future. That is the warning we hear so often nowadays. So here, I would like to once again explain why and how Jeju became the venue for the International Electric Vehicle Expo. And now, Chairman Kim Do-kyun is also joining us as well. Plus, Party Leader Lee Jun-seok is gracing this event. I thank you for being here. I really would like to ask you to deliver your congratulatory message, albeit short. The IEVE that marks 8th anniversary this year started in a small island in Gapado. Gapado Island is a small island that sits alongside Marado, the southernmost point of Korea. And only 10 years ago, Gapado had less than 5,000 visitors a year and oftentimes called an island that misses people. That was where the vision of carbon-free island took birth. However, no one believed that the era of EV would come this early. Long time ago, I visited Kapado to do volunteer work. Due to lack of jobs and children education, young people were leaving the island, with only elderly staying behind. I was somehow attracted to this Kapado island, and I invited companies to sign sister relations with villages there and continued electricity inspection, house repairing, and many volunteering activities, and further developed my relations with the island. Professors, journalists, engineers, NGOs, and many people from different walks of life started to join in, and this led to the establishment of an organization called People Who Love Kappa Island in 2009. The organization wanted to find the identity of the island from its eco-friendliness and wanted to use wind, sun, and renewable energy sources to make Kapado Island energy dependent, replacing all gasoline cars by EV cars to create carbon-free island Kapado was the vision presented by the organization. And this led to the birth of the national vision of Carbon-Free Island Jeju 2030 that now represents the entire country of Korea. Furthermore, in April 2012, the International Green Island Forum, the Dreams of Green World, was established, which enabled global exchanges in the domain area and thus laid foundation for the birth of the IEVE. There is another pillar behind the birth of the Electric Vehicle Expo. As part of the government's green growth policy starting from 2009, centering around Gujaub area of Jeju, Jeju Smart Grid Demonstration Park was established. Many SMEs in Jeju took part in the projects, and this led to the creation of Jeju Smart Grid Corporation Association. In 2011, here, Jeju University Smart Grid Research Center stepped in and created industry, academia, research, and government projects. And in 2013, as part of the efforts to improve Jeju's economy and explore leisure combined MICE projects, the International Electric Vehicle Expo was chosen and came into being. Industry, academia, research, and government stakeholders worked together and traveled back and forth between Jeju and Seoul, and even went overseas to explain why we should host Electric Vehicle Expo in Jeju. We persuaded stakeholders and expanded networks to open the EV car market. And on March 15, 2014, the first ever International Electric Vehicle Expo took place. 41 companies took part in the week-long events, and as many as 47,000 participants visited the event from in and outside of Korea. The industry players and the government was all surprised by this unexpected success. Who holds a motor show in Jeju was the initial reaction we got. However, people were pleasantly surprised by the new possibilities that Jeju presented and started to support. So, people who fell in love with a small island gathered together to lay foundation for EV cars without any existing track record nor infrastructure, and 10 years have passed since then. Now, in 2021, the International Electric Vehicle Expo is joined by more than 200 companies from about 50 countries and is visited by more than 100,000 people. It has become an international expo, venue for academic exchanges and B2B cooperation. We are proud to say that the expo is pioneering the EV car-related businesses. The IEVE, as the one and only expo in the world purely and solely dedicated to EV cars, aims to become the Davos Forum in the e-mobility sector. Global EV Roundtable co-hosted and organized by Global EV Association Network will be made regular. The icons of the fourth industrial revolution such as EV cars, UAM, and electric vessels will have separate forums dedicated to each of them. In addition, the general meeting of GEAN that the Expo has been hosting regularly marks its 6th anniversary this year. The Global EV Association Network chooses global company that contributed to the dissemination of EV cars and award their contributions, and this year's award goes to General Motors. I would like to congratulate CEO Mary Barra for the award. This morning, with the official opening of the 8th Expo, the 6th General Meeting of the GEAN was held alongside as well. In March 2016, on the 3rd IEVE, the Global EV Association Network was established with 12 participating countries, associations, and companies. The GEAN will continue to serve our responsibilities at the center of the global EV car industry ecosystem. And yesterday, I began my journey to this year's Expo with a historic and meaningful trip. The first Korean Peninsula Peace Road EV car journey started from the Imjinggak Pavilion, the symbol of division and reunion, and ended here in Jeju, where we can see Marado Island, the southernmost tip of the Korean Peninsula. This event is hosted by Global EV Association Network and co-organized by the Korean EV User Association, Jeju EV User Association, and the IEVE Organizing Committee. From Halla to Baekdu and from Baekdu to Halla, EV One Belt. This was the slogan of the Peace Road EV car journey. It started from the Imjinggak Pavilion, past Sejong City and the Gwangju City, got on a ferry at Mokpo Port of Jeonnam Province, and ran all night long to reach the port of Jeju this morning. With the great energy the car delivered from South Pacific Ocean and the Halla Mountain, we officially kicked off the 8th International Electric Vehicle Expo. Dreaming of one united Korea, late CEO of Hyundai Motors Chung Ju-young crossed over the demarcation line with a herd of cattle. We, the Global EV Association Network, in the 3rd General Meeting in 2018, unanimously decided on the hosting of the first Pyongyang International Electric Vehicle Expo. That year, on December 18th, I visited Pyongyang and made multiple discussions with stakeholders from the north. This Peace Road EV car journey means that we have started to put ideas and plans into action. Ladies and gentlemen, the GEAN and the IEVE is providing small and medium-sized companies with practical e-mobility business opportunities, serving as an international market. We are establishing ourselves as a forum for B2B Expo, Business Expo, and not only in the field of electric vehicles, but encompassing larger e-mobility and forward and backward linked parts industry. We would like to form an ecosystem. We will lead the Korean New Deal and make Korea a hub for EV car exports. Electric cars were born 200 years ago. However, it has finally now woken up from long hibernation to be widely adopted and used in the society. We are proud to say that we, IEVE, is playing a leading role here. The GEAN families, GEAN families, however, cannot be complacent. The global EV market is less than 1% open, and what really matters is from now on. That is why us gathered here together should continue to meet, discuss, and think together. Countries around the world are suffering from global warming and many other natural disasters that are threatening the basic livelihood of human beings. That is what climate change can do to us. This is the negative byproduct of the industrialization that we humans had so much been striving for. Now it is time to go back to the value of coexistence. We should envision the world that features renewable energy, carbon neutrality, and the EV, and create a firm solidarity to stand at the center of the green recovery. To create a venue where we can enable actionable visions, we will do our best. Once again, let me thank all the participants, including heads of the organizations, companies, EV experts in and outside of Korea, and industry partners for taking part of this event, traveling all the way to Jeju. The IEVE, after starting off at a small island in Jeju, is now growing into the Davos Forum of e-mobility. Your continued support enables such growth, and you are the true EV car family. I love you and I thank you. From the co-chairman of the 8th IEVE Organizing Committee, thank you.
네, 김대환 위원.
Thank you so much. He has delivered an amazing opening speech. Thank you for officially kicking off the opening ceremony. And I hope that the carbon-free island will be realized from the Halla Mountain down to the beach. And Electric Vehicles Davos Forum will be realized in the near future. I believe that. Now I'm going to invite the acting governor of Jeju, Kuman-seok, and he will deliver a speech through a video clip. Sorry that he's not able to join us in person. Good to see all of you. I am an acting governor of Jeju, special self-governing province. Welcome to Jeju, where you can see the future of high-tech electric vehicle and clean nature. One of the best electric vehicle conventions, the 8th International Electric Vehicle Expo, is launched today. Climate change is threatening humankind more than ever, and a country after another declares carbon neutral and put into action. Korea is no exception. Korea declared going carbon neutral 2050. Increasing the renewable energy while reducing carbon generation, we are making the shift. Over the past decade, Jeju has made tremendous efforts to emerge as a new Green New Deal frontier. Among others, electric vehicle is the area where the changes are witnessed most. And I believe that we played a pivotal role in achieving carbon neutrality. Next year will mark more than 30,000 electric vehicles running on the clean sunlight and wind next year. More charging stations will be built, and the infra for EV continues to improve while working to improve the user culture. While more jobs to be created, special charging districts are designated, while research is on the used batteries and renewable energy-based green hydrogen production projects are underway. And they are examples that we work on in order to create the wholesome ecosystem for electric vehicle. Electric vehicle is just next to us in our daily life. Jeju needs to take another step forward to achieve a bigger goal. Last October, it was announced that new combustion engine cars can be no longer registered starting from 2030. In line with the national policy of promoting hydrogen-based economy, hydrogen-based clean mobility will be fully implemented. It is sure to bring about big impact on the life of the people living in Jeju. Making preemptive responses, we will also come up with the plans to survive and thrive with our businesses. The 8th International Electric Vehicle Expo is launched today, and I hope that you have the chance to experience the changes the electric vehicle will bring in the future. And electric vehicle companies' technology can be experienced. We will also share a vision that central and local government have together, which we sure result in more changes and innovation in the future. Thank you. Thank you so much. The acting governor of Jeju delivered a welcoming remark. Now I'm going to invite Lee Jun-seok, the leader of the People's Power. He will deliver a congratulatory remark. Would you please welcome with a big hand?
예, 이렇게
Good afternoon. I would like to congratulate the opening of the 8th International Electric Vehicle Expo, and I would like to thank staff members, which of course include Chairman Kim Dae-hwan, for the immense effort put behind organizing this event. As was covered, I recently bought an EV car. Frankly speaking, my first relations with EV car started back in Jeju when the infrastructure was actually poor. When I visited and traveled to Jeju, I thought borrowing an EV car, since Jeju has the best infrastructure when it comes to EV car in Korea, and I actually had a great impression about EV cars. That is partly the reason I could buy an EV car without hesitation. Many people, especially Korean people, travel to Jeju Island, and many people who experienced EV car would be pioneering the expansion and dissemination EV cars in Korea, and I think that is exactly what is happening in the country. Over the last 4 years, the infrastructure has been growing and expanding gradually. Speed charging infrastructure and high-speed charging infrastructure is expanding in number, and 400 kilowatts and 250 kilowatt charging stations can be used well in daily lives without any discomfort. So hopefully, going forward, at the government level and from the political scene, there could be a lot of support from the EV for the EV industry and EV car users so that we can disseminate and spread the use of EV cars to the entire country. Academia, industry, and international stakeholders have all gathered together here on this venue. I wish for a vibrant discussion and exchanges. I listen to diverse and suggestions and recommendations, and I will make sure that there's no political hindrance when it comes to EV car industry and infrastructure expansion. To make sure that there is no hindrance when it comes to laws, we People Power Party will do our best at the National Assembly. You have my full support. Thank you.
Thank you very much for delivering a congratulatory remark as one of the EVE family member. Now I'm going to invite the former Secretary General, UN, and he will deliver the speech under the title of Carbon Neutrality and the Electric Vehicle, a bold journey together. Sorry that he's not able to join us in person, but we are going to join him in person, in the video clip. Would you please have a look? Thank you. Congratulations on the opening of the 8th International Electric Vehicle Expo. I am very glad to be invited to this meaningful event and deliver this keynote speech. Launched in 2014, the International Electric Vehicle Expo is the world's only EV expo in the world whose event is held every year under the theme of environmentally friendly EV. Hoping that this expo will grow into a global platform, I'd like to deliver my special thanks and encouragement to the President Kim Dae-han and the staff for organizing the event. I'd like to thank you for your passion and strong confidence. Ladies and gentlemen and distinguished guests, since the Industrial Revolution, humans have achieved economic development and technological advancement. But it brought havoc on the environment, ushering in global warming and climate change. Global warming brings about very destructive and fatal outcomes. Abnormal weather patterns wrought havoc on people's lives and properties. Belgium and Germany had record-breaking heavy rain, while Australia, Turkey, Greece, and US and Siberia, they suffered from large-scale wildfires. European Union Copernicus Atmosphere Monitoring Service estimated that the fires that we had this year, July alone, produced 350 million tons of carbon, which is more than 1% of the carbon emitted by the entire world in 2019, and which is 50% of the entire emission of Korea, which is 727 million tons. Amazon also had fires to produce 1.5 billion tons of carbon per year, while it can absorb 500 million tons of carbon a year. This means that we can no longer call Amazon a lung of the earth. All these changes led to disasters like COVID-19. Humans have fought against the viruses from a long time ago. However, we witness a special pattern these days. Back in 2013, we had SARS, and now we have COVID-19. And those viruses that broke in 21st have something in common, which is they are zoonotic contagions. At the center of all the contagions, climate change. With the climate change taking place, the habitat of the wildlife have been destroyed, which led to an increase in the contact between humans and animals. So, such viruses which were confined to the animals have now spread to humans. The climate change melts down the frozen land in Siberia. So one of the main greenhouse gases, methane, will be released, and huge number of viruses and bacteria will be released as well. As the viruses do not know borders, and as they hit the entire ecosystem, we will be exposed to unprecedented threats more often than before. What is worse is the fact that the global warming is picking up the speed. IPCC estimated that in 2018, about 1.5 degree rise report, and in that report, it says that 1.5 degree rise will take place between 2030 and 2052. However, from July 26 to August 6, they had 54th Congress this year, and it has released a new report, and it says that the time point will be earlier than expected. So now it will take place between 2021 to 2040. And we have only 0.4 degrees in order to have 1.5 degree rise in the global temperature, which means that the catastrophe will take place decades earlier than expected, and our survival is at stake. Ladies and gentlemen, in order to overcome the crisis threatening the 7.8 billion people in the world, the carbon neutral goal is announced by many different governments and countries, which is very good. EU, US, and Japan announced they would become carbon neutral 2050, while China, one of the biggest emitters, said it would do so by 2060. As of July this year, 134 countries declared carbon neutrality, and I expect all the Paris Agreement signatories follow suit as soon as possible. It was October 28th last year that President Moon announced carbon neutrality 2050, and May 25th this year, Carbon Neutrality Committee was launched, which set us to take a step forward into the future. However, carbon neutrality 2050 is not an easy target, and our journey toward that will be wobbly. We need to have a very strong willpower to implement our plans. And I believe that it requires the resolution and courage of the leadership for the carbon neutral 2050 to be realized. If you compromise or want to find a detour, I believe carbon neutral 2050 will go stranded. In that context, I am very concerned about the draft version of the carbon neutral plan as announced by the Carbon Neutral Committee on August 5th. It says that 7 coal-fired plants will be maintained with net emissions standing at 24.5 million tons. It's an option number 1. Coal-fired plants will be closed while LNG-fired plants will be maintained with net emission at 18.7 million tons as a plan number 2. Both coal-fired plants and LNG ones will be closed together with the net emission standing at 0, and this is a plan number 3. Based on the feedback from the related parties and the general public, the government will release the final plan in late October. I just wonder how come such plans are suggested as scenarios for 2050 carbon neutral plans. With an exception of number 3, the option number 1 and 2 failed to achieve the carbon neutral target. It seems that it doesn't even aim for that. It just makes me believe that they are ready to compromise. There could be several ways to get to 2050 carbon neutrality, but destination is the same. Carbon neutrality 2050. The strong resolution to make sure that we will make sure to achieve the target is required. In that regard, we need to tie our shoelaces very tight once again. Ladies and gentlemen, and distinguished guests, not only the government but also companies need to play an important role to achieve carbon neutrality. Korean businesses have become more aggressive in adopting carbon neutrality. For instance, Hyundai, SK Group, and LG and Hanwha Group have joined the campaign RE100, which means renewable energy 100%. KEPCO introduced a green premium scheme. POSCO, the company in the carbon generating industry, declared carbon neutrality 2050, and they started to introduce hydrogen reduction steelmaking. Like this, a huge number of companies make efforts for the sake of carbon reduction and climate change mitigation. Recently, companies have adopted ESG management principle or philosophy, and EU plans to implement a carbon border control system. I believe that they will have a huge impact on the future of carbon neutrality. It is sure to increase burden on businesses, but nothing should deter us from going forward to become carbon neutral. Investors and consumers will pay more attention to the environmentally friendly goods, and companies who meet these kind of requirements will become more competitive and sure to grow into the future. The government needs to provide the support with the policies so that such efforts will continue to be made and industrial structures is more swiftly transitioned to carbon neutrality. Climate change and carbon neutrality have a tremendous impact on the life of all humans, ushering in the transition of the entire industry. Automobile industry is the sector which gets the most impact. Black exhaust emitted from cars and plants have been the main source of pollution. And for the carbon neutrality to be achieved, the combustion engine vehicles should be expelled from market. Environmental friendly cars need to be introduced into the market to replace the combustion engine ones, and electric cars are at the forefront. EU, starting from 2035, will ban the sales of the combustion engine vehicles. US President Biden in August signed an administrative order to make sure that electric vehicle accounts for more than half of the new cars to be sold in the USA. So there is no return to the old days of the combustion engines. That's what he declared. Therefore, in 2040, 57% of the passenger cars and more than 30% of the cars in the world are estimated to be electric vehicles. In line with the general trend of the global market, Korean car makers need to brace themselves to maintain the leadership position in the market while making contribution to achieving carbon neutrality. Ladies and gentlemen, climate change is closely associated with the survival of humans. As a UN Secretary, I repeatedly stressed that we do not have the luxury to make compromise with the nature. Rather, we need to listen to the nature and its warnings. We need to come up with immediate responses. That's what I have said. In April this year, there was a UN summit on climate change hosted. And it says that the time is fast running out to save us from disasters. So that's the warning that we got from UN. We need to take actions sooner than later. Time is running out. We need to make effort from where you are and right now. I wish for a success for the 8th International Electric Vehicle Expo, and I also wish good luck and health for all of you. Thank you. Thank you very much. A former Secretary General of UN delivered a very important message showing the vision that we have to follow for the future. Let me invite a keynote speaker, the president of Hyundai Motors, and he will deliver the first keynote speech. As for Chairperson Shin Jae-won, he served as a director at NASA.
And he was the first Asian to take the agency's top position as the director in terms of flying car, unmanned aviation system, and ultrasonic airplanes, and many other future aviation research. UAM plays a central role, and our keynote speaker is a globally renowned expert in this field. Please welcome him with a big hand. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is my great honor to be invited to this meaningful event that is the International Electric Vehicle Expo. I would like to congratulate the successful opening of this event. The Hyundai Motors Group is fastly changing itself and transforming itself to focus more on EV cars. And many ask me if Hyundai Motor Group is making airplanes as well. And regarding urban air mobility, it is a buzzword, so I believe one or two of you have already heard about it. So, albeit short, through this keynote speech, I would like to explain you why we need urban air mobility and what innovation we can expect, and also why Hyundai Motors Group is trying to pay attention to this new industry and try to dedicate itself to, or dedicate some part of the resources at least, to the UAM. I created this image deliberately actually for this. From the air mobility field, commercial aviation market is one thing, but on top of that, a completely new aviation market will come into being. So I wanted to say that a new dawn is opening up. It is early in the morning when it comes to aviation industry. So it is a very exciting time for us or for many other players in this field of aviation because unexpected and unprecedented innovation will happen. Then, what is urban air mobility? What does it mean and what does it try to achieve? There should be reasons. So, Jeju is much more livable place than Seoul is. If you look at the major cities in Korea, or you do not necessarily have to look at overseas countries. If you think about Seoul or Busan, the traffic congestion is becoming more and more of an issue. This rapid urbanization is not a problem confined to a specific region or a specific country. Over the last 20 or 30 years, the rapid urbanization has been a thing for global major cities all around the world. By 2030, the mega cities with the population of more than 10 million will number 43 according to UN studies. Cities with the population of more than 10 million is unimaginable. I believe as for the metropolitan area, it is about 1 million. And to support this massive increase in the population, we have to expand the transportation infrastructure on land, but it has its limits. However, we try to install and lay more lanes and more roads. The cars come in fast and fill all those spaces up. Congestion is another issue. It is much more than annoyance. It is causing us economic impact, and it harms productivity and many other economic indicators as well, creating loss. And plus, unfortunately, we have to think about safety as well. Unfortunately, every year, about 1.3 million global citizens die because of the traffic accidents. Although each and every of these cases are not reported in the media, it is a very whopping number. And as was put by former Secretary General Pan, emission is another issue. So if you think about all these issues, it is now time for us to open up roads in the sky. Because otherwise, in this rapid urbanization, we cannot meet the transportation needs of people. So we have to open up the roads and the sky. So far, we have been living in a two-dimensional world. However, if we start thinking about opening up the sky, it is way more than two-dimensional. Many say that we are using airplanes. Doesn't that mean we're using a sky? But then we are not using sky inside of the cities. And if I say so, some might rebut that we already have helicopters, but helicopters come with noise problems and it uses internal combustion engines, so not eco-friendly. So big cities in advanced countries are trying to stay away from helicopters. Some actually place a ban on the commercial use of the helicopters. So very rich people can use it, or helicopters can be used in police work or some medically emergency situations. So they're not being used in common purposes. Now, electrification of car is a big trend, and this had created innovations in the EV car industry. If electrification is possible in the aviation industry, new innovation will bring, and that is actually happening. If we can think outside of the internal combustion engine box, the design of the aviation vehicles might change a lot. Airplanes and the flights and the frames, the typical form that you come to think of when you think about airplane may be a thing of the past. We can come up with innovative design, efficient design, and more pleasant to look at design. If we can stay away from the internal combustion engine. In the car market, the electrification is one thing, and on top of that, autonomy is another big trend. And the same is happening in the aviation market as well. With the combination of the electrification and autonomy technology, more affordable and innovative vehicles will come into being. That is why UAM is gaining a lot of attention. The world is seeing potential in the field of UAM. Firstly, because the demand is obvious, and the demand will only increase going forward. And the UAM is technically feasible. With that, globally, in the aviation market, UAM is one of the topical issues. It is actually receiving the highest and biggest attention. That means resource and funding is coming in. Investments are being made. Over the last 10 years, it is hard to tell you numbers, but we expect that billions of dollars worth of money came into the aviation market for UAM. although I cannot say there is specific statistics. And I believe the investment will continue. With that, starting from the SMEs or Boeing or Airbus manufacturers and traditional aviation OEM companies are entering into this field. And traditional car makers such as Hyundai Motors Group are trying to make investment into UAM, or like us, some car players are trying to manufacture UAM vehicles. But there is one interesting phenomenon taking place. It is not creating another model in cars. It is creating something new, completely out of nowhere. That means we do not have certification schemes, regulations, nor infrastructure. So all these areas should be developed and nurtured, which means we have a huge challenge ahead. In terms of Boeing or Airbus, they are decades-long players in this aviation market. And does that mean they are competitive players in the market? Not necessarily, because UAM requires a completely new way of manufacturing. And once again, at the risk of repeating myself, from prototype, certification, to the production, and to the market, the journey is quite long. And throughout this journey, companies that can make steady investment to push forward till the end of the road will be small in number. So who makes it is a hot topic in the market. So here I wrote no incumbents. By that I mean there is no existing strong player here in this field. As for Korea, we cannot say that we are an aviation powerhouse. Globally, we cannot say that the aviation authority. However, we have enough chance to win the UAM market, I believe. But as I said, there is no market for UAM not yet. That means there are a lot of issues that should be solved. Creating aviation vehicle will not guarantee UA success. So I have put some examples just to name a few. There are diverse issues that we have to solve together. And one important thing is licensing or certification for aviation vehicles or creating navigation regulations. So far, from the 500-meter altitude, man-made flying vehicle hadn't flying above our heads commercially and purposefully. In order for a man-made flying vehicle to fly above our head, they have to win permission and license. And if UAM becomes a thing, that means like hundreds of thousands of vehicles will fly above our heads. And if that's the case, since as of today there is no navigation rules at all, the regulation itself will create a big issue. And plus, new businesses would pop up to take a look at and handle all these vehicles flying above our heads. And we have to manufacture and develop vehicles themselves as well. Plus, we have to make sure that ground transportation and aviation, UAM transportation are seamlessly linked and integrated. And this means we need a new and several suites of infrastructure. And we have to create a facilities or infrastructure where these flying vehicles can take off and land. That means so many stakeholders and players should work together to open up a new market. But once again, I highlight this. The demand is obvious and big. That is why many other industry players are paying attention to this UAM market and has already started to work on it. So our Hyundai Motors Group is trying to look at the UAM, and the reason why we are trying to do so is this. We want to give more comfort to human life, and we want to enhance the quality of human life. We are a quite strong player in the car industry, and we believe we have contributed to enhancing the quality of people's life and served humanity. So UAM is in the extension of this. Why Hyundai Motors Group is investing in UAM and has started working on this? That is because the transportation system is being electrified. With that, car is much more than a mere means of transportation that will deliver us to point B from point A. With electrification, we can do so much more inside of the cars. I myself, on my way to here, I drove an Ioniq 5. And as you hear from the news, Ioniq 5 is way more than buying just one more car. Many young generation buy Ioniq 5 and do diverse things to enhance their quality of lives. That said, with the EV cars and hydrogen cars coming, and greener cars coming, and autonomous cars coming, the UAM aviation vehicle will add on that. All these green vehicles and green means of transportation will get integrated and linked so that users or consumers feel 100% comfort in traveling to point B from point A. They do not necessarily plan their routes ahead or plan their modes of transportation ahead. All completely interlinked services will be provided in a seamless manner so that consumers can use application, simply open up an application, tap on it, click on it, and transportation service is ready to be served. That is the world that we vision, and that is the world that Hyundai Motors Group is preparing for. I cannot get into details since it is a keynote speech, but in tomorrow's session, I was allocated some more time to talk about what we do at the Hyundai Motors. So I wanted to share some deeper thoughts about the challenges and ideas regarding UAM, taking that opportunity. As for EV cars, we will continue to do a good job. And as for the UAM, we will work on this as well so that we can integrate air transportation and land transportation by opening up a road in the sky and thus enhancing the quality of people's life. We would like to enhance quality of life for Korean people and direct you in the better direction going forward. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. We come to look forward to the future development of e-mobility after listening to your keynote speech. Thank you once again. Now, we have next keynote presentation ready. Our second keynote speaker is Chairman Edmund Araga from IEVE, and he will deliver his presentation under the title of How Electric Vehicles Can Help Shape Future ASEAN Smart Cities. He's joining us virtually.
Thank you for being with us. If you are ready, would you like to begin your keynote address? Chairman Araga, you may begin.
Good morning, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. On behalf of Asian Federation of Electric Vehicle Association, we would like to thank you for giving us the opportunity to present before you on this event as an advocacy in promoting the industry on a regional level. Chairman Daiguan Kim, our idol and our very generous and very supportive chairman, we would like to thank you and appreciate your existence of this program in Jeju Island, wherein we are one with you and in supporting on this endeavor. And we would like to congratulate you for your 8th summit. And this is already a milestone, 2 years ahead, and you would be a decade of generosity of help and assistance on shaping up the industry, especially the electric vehicle industry. And I am delighted that we were one with you on all those endeavors that you are partaking in. And we, as a FEBA, together with Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore, and Philippines, we are one with you. And we are here for you to support anytime, sir. With that, I would like to express my congratulatory to Chairman Kim for your hardworking and devotion on this particular event. Thank you, Chairman Kim and Kayan family, IEVE family.
네, 감사합니다. 빠르게 발전하는 아세안의 전기차 산업이 어떻게 스마트 도시 조성에 도움이 될 수 있을지.
And he delivered a very brief speech on the ASEAN, and he showed this strong support for us. I'm going to invite a DPCO, CEO of DPCO, Song Shin-gun, and he will deliver a special speech. With the local technology, he produced a very light truck and sold in the Korean market and exported to the overseas market. And multi-purpose vehicle is an area that he has expanded his business into. Would you please welcome him with a warm round of applause?
Good afternoon. I am CEO Song Shin-gun from DPCO. I would like to congratulate the opening of the 8th International Electric Vehicle Expo and thank you for inviting me. And thank you for giving an SME to deliver a keynote speech. It means a lot. DPCO was established in 1998. For 23 years after I joined a large corporation, I worked for manufacturing cars, and in the year of 1998, I quit the large company and established an engineering company, DPCO. And starting from the 2017, DPCO was translated into an EV car developing, manufacturing, and selling company in Hwaesong, Gangwon Province. We are developing Potro, a ultra-small electric cargo car. In the early phase of production, DPCO was made from the acronym of Design, Production, Engineering, and Consulting. But now, this year marks the 23rd anniversary of DPCO actually. So, in producing Potro, we changed the name, actually meaning of the DPCO. From the Design, Production, Engineering, and Consulting, we renamed and gave it a new meaning of Dream Partner for Eco-Mobility. So it is like rebirth of our company. When we started as an engineering company, it was difficult to survive as an engineering company in the domestic market, so I worked in the overseas market. Since I was in the production technology division in the large corporation I worked for, that is the part I focused on early on. But starting from the 2008 to 2010, we started modeling and mass production of the Geely car from the Geely company, China. And taking that as an opportunity, we started building and developing our own cars. And starting from 2010 to 2012, we were impressed by the EV car Koda, which is a US car. We were in charge of the development of this Koda car for 2.5 years, and that is how I got into the EV car market. And about at the year of 2017, we thought that maybe it is time for us to move into the manufacturing side, not engineering. That is why I wanted to turn my eyes back to the Korean domestic market. And I could see that aside from the personal small cars manufactured by large corporations, there was no niche market for personal cars. That is why I created electric scooters. That is how I started manufacturing. But then in 2018, many buses in the Korean market is big, but if you look at the countrysides, they need smaller sized buses, but there was lack of smaller and medium sized buses that should be provided for them. So we started working on that. Since we could not manufacture them in Korea due to cost issues, we manufacture them in China and do OEM for the smaller sized buses. And we worked on this because that was a niche market untapped by large corporations. Chinese cars in the Korean market are circulated with Chinese specifications. However, for us, we design the car so that it matches the Korean specification and Korean needs. We design them, we just do manufacturing in China and bring back them to Korea. And starting from the 2016 one, the ultra small car brands came into being. Now, the parcel delivery market is growing fast in Korea, and back then the market was filled with two-wheeled vehicles such as motorcycles, and the remaining part of the market was filled by the imported cars, motored cars. So many consumers were complaining about this. Once again, so we wanted to find out and meet this need of the niche market, so wanted to create a super small electric cargo cars, and that was a success. With that, we were chosen as a win-win job creator from Gangwon province in October. The DPECO have been engaging in engineering business for 20 years in relation to EV cars and electric personal mobility and low-floor e-bus that is 8.5 meters long, and the Totoro small electric vehicle are manufactured by us. When it comes to automotive engineering, we design them, we deal with the production technology, and we manufacture them, and we also do quality assurance as well. If you look at the graph, we are not only operating in Korea, but also in Japan, Malaysia, China, and India. And if you look at the video, these are the cars that we have developed. As for the we have been in 105 car-making projects for the last two decades. With these performance, that is how we can manufacture small electric vehicle Totoro. And the electric scooters meet the diverse needs of the disabled people and the aged people. And it covers diverse ranges from basic form, medium form, premium form, and so on and so forth. And this is the small low-floor bus. When creating small cargo bus, we specified into a niche market. We specialized our cars to meet the delivery needs for the last mile delivery. By last mile delivery, it means that we have to have a car that can drive a small and narrow streets. And that means drivers should ingress and egress quite often. So we wanted to make sure that we use slide doors so that it can open fast and get in and get on out and get in the car in a very comfortable way, even in small and narrow streets. We named the car Totoro, meaning everybody can do it. When Michelangelo, as far as I'm aware, this is what Michelangelo said. And potro also means a porter in Espanol or Spanish. That is why we named our car Potro. So once again, Potro is a ultra small cargo car. However, if we equip it with a deck, we can use the car with leisure purposes and it can load way more cargoes than it was originally designed. We wanted to localize and make sure that we use homegrown parts, but we could not make it 100% and the ratio is 85%. Why? Because we are targeting niche market. The market size is not big in the beginning. That means we have to think about cost issues. Because of the cost, we had to give up 15% of the parts and import them from overseas countries. But with the growing demand, we hope that we can enhance this 85 number more and more and make it from 100% homegrown parts. And creating and manufacturing these cars, I learned that although we have world-class parts makers for automotive industry, all of them supply for the large companies. There are so many SMEs who want to engage in cars, but many of them have to develop all the parts for cars. For example, if we are to buy already produced cars, even paying loyalty, we're said no. Our ideas are rejected. That is why it is very difficult for SMEs to use local parts. So as for the local parts, we understand that there will be challenges. So when local SMEs want to make cars in Korea, we sell our parts. We sell the parts that we have developed without any condition if they want to use our parts. Once again, it is an ultra small electric car and many worry about the safety of the car. But our car have passed the 40 km/h full-on collide tests and was proved safe. And we are running tests so that we can guarantee the safety of the car and the passengers and the driver. The SME is small in size, but we have the capability to design, manufacture, and do quality assurance and cost monitoring of cars. So we can say we are a competitive player in the market. We have a car company and painting company, assembly company, and also we drive tests the cars that we have manufactured and then sell them to the market. And all these can be done within the facility that we own. Our capacity is about 20,000 units per year. If you look at the video on the screen, that is where we produce our cars. This is the layout of our factories. And like I said, all the parts that we have developed can be provided to SMEs who want to develop their cars. We are providing the parts that we have developed in the open market, and on top of selling fully manufactured cars, we are focusing on creating uniquely designed cars as well so that we can create multiple cars with unique designs to meet the niche market's needs. And with the unique design that we promote, we are trying to foster the development of car tuning market in Korea as well. And like I said, our car is ultra small. However, this can be versatile. This can be used for cleaning purposes and firefighting purposes. In Korea, the ultra small cars cannot be used as a special purpose cars according to the current laws. So legally speaking, we cannot do so as of today, but I hope that legal reform or regulation renovation is done so that we can make ultra small cars for special purposes like firefighting. For example, if you look at the traditional market, the streets are very small and very narrow, so firefighting cars cannot enter there. So if the laws get improved, these small vehicles can be used and translated into a special purpose car, which would help a lot of people. So I hope this law changes can be made quickly and swiftly. There are a lot of niche markets in the Korean market. But cars below 1 toner is not manufactured in Korea. One example was Lago Damas from GM, but they stopped production of this car last year. So the cargo vehicle below 1 toner is not being manufactured by large companies. And in this market, we entered with the small car that can load 250 kilograms and also 500 kilograms. We cannot say we provide a big number of cars, but as an SME, we are trying to expand our market as a competitive player in the niche market. So this is the roadmap that we have for the new cars going forward, and we would like to expand the number of the cargo or the amount of cargo we can load from 500 to 800. And plus, we are exploring not only opportunities in the Korean market but also in the overseas niche market. So when it comes to the carbon aware market, we would like to preoccupy the overseas market and expand Korea's position. Plus, we do not plan to give up on engineering. R&D expansion and the market expansion will continue to be our target. We are the only company to manufacture a car as an SME. When we said that we will make a car, some said that they thought we're gonna make a toy car. And some said, are we gonna supply for the medical scenes? Or are we gonna make parts? When we said that we will not make toys, we will not make cars, parts, but will make legit vehicles that can run on the roads and that can guarantee passenger safety, no one believed us. But with Potro, we are selling not only in the domestic market but also in the overseas market. We will continue to tap into this niche market and explore deeper into the market and open up new markets. Starting from the 2012, as you are well aware, CKNT and AD Motors and many other players were there for the low-speed car market, but they failed to open up a new market and the low-speed car market died down. But now this market is coming back, and I'm confident to say that we can make it happen and we will make sure this happens. And with that, I would like to end my presentation by thanking organizing committee once again for creating this event possible. Thank you.
네, 기술 자존심
Thank you so much. It's a very inspiring speech. I believe that you will make further development into the future. Thank you again. I hope all of you find today's event informative. In response to climate change crisis, the world has just started to shift to carbon neutrality and future cars. This means that we will be ushered into the cutthroat competition age, but it is also sure to make the beginning of the coexistence and cooperation. And the International Electric Vehicle Expo will continue to look into the global trend and draw the picture of the e-mobility along with you. And I believe the opening ceremony was able to depict the changes in the global market. This concludes our opening ceremony for today. I'd like to thank both of you who joined us online and offline, and hope that all of you enjoy the rest of the event. Once again, thank you.